So as you click on this video, you may be asking yourself, how the hell will this crazy man manage to solo Fire Emblem the Sacred Stones with only Moulder? Since Moulder is a healer and simply cannot damage the enemy, so surely this is impossible, right? And this would normally be the moment I reveal some crazy trick that makes Moulder be able to complete the run on his own. Well, unfortunately, not this time. Moulder is actually unable to solo Sacred Stones. Technically, he can't even get out of the prologue, since he's a healer and literally cannot damage the enemy. And you may be confused because if you look at the video's timeline below, there is still a lot of video left to watch. So what exactly are we doing here? The truth is, for this run, we'll be cheating a little bit. We're gonna cheat to make it happen. And that is because I vowed a long time ago to all of you that I would do the whole cast of Sacred Stones, and I intend to keep that promise, even if that means bending the rules a little bit. First, I need to acknowledge that many of you over the course of this series have rushed the comment section to give me a variety of potential strategies to make healers possible within the confines of this challenge. And I appreciate every single one of you who did this, since a lot of you had great ideas over the duration of this series. But I decided on something else than what was proposed. Well, actually, it might have been proposed, but I don't remember seeing it in the comments. If you did, you can say it in the comments of this video and I will give you the credit. So the way we will do this is by spending a lot of time in the prologue of Sacred Stones. We'll be giving Moulder a full inventory of heal staves, a guiding ring, and a few tomes for Seth to hold while Moulder is still a priest. Basically, we'll have the two bandits that are found on this map hit Seth over and over again, and every time he does get hit, Moulder will heal that 2 HP right back up, and in the process gain a whopping 11 XP every time. So through this slow grind process, we'll be able to get Moulder within promo range, where I will promo him at level 10 instead of our normal level 20. This process will be taking a while, but let me explain why I decided to go down that route, since I could have just given him his average level 10 stats and promoted him right away. I have said many times during this series that it is very important to me for units to gain their levels as they would in a normal run, as I believe the RNG attached to leveling is an essential part of Fire Emblem, so RNG should dictate in some way how some of these runs are going to go, especially considering the tier list at the end of the video is more so for fun than anything scientific. So for me, keeping that portion of each run intact is very important. Another reason is, I'll be quite frank here, if Moulder manages to finish this run, I'm not sure how I'll be ranking the healer on the tier list I just talked about, but I think the additional time/turns spent in the prologue can be a sort of penalty added to the rank to reflect the cheating that we had to do to complete the run. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in detail at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Finally, you may wonder why I'm only leveling to level 10. There are two reasons for this. The first one is more logistical than anything. It takes about an iron axe and a half for a level 3 Moulder to get to level 10, so we couldn't get him any more levels even if we wanted to. But also, I think that because we're cheating to make this run happen, a level 10 promo feels like a good handicap to throw on the character so he doesn't just blow right through the game, and makes it barely a challenge. So with all that being said, I think this way it's a little bit more fair overall. And of course, the other normal rules of this challenge will apply. Hard mode, no other cheating will happen. 1 healing item per map, and I can't use the convoy to grab more healing items, but I may grab more healing items through normal means such as drops, trades, chests, villages, etc. Alright, I'll skip a little bit ahead in the footage as we talk about other elements of this run, because you may be already tired of seeing me healing Seth over and over again. So as you can see with the promo, I went with the Sage class instead of the Bishop class. And hold on to your comment there, Billy. Just hold on to it a little bit. We'll talk about the promotion options plenty. We just have a few other things to get out of the way first. Here are the stats of Moulder at level 10 before his promo, and we can see a few things already happening. His magic stat will be at 5, which is 2 below his normal averages. Same thing for his skill, but his speed will be 2 points above, and his luck will be a point above, and his resistance a point below. His other stats will find themselves on the averages mostly. So is this good or bad? Well, to know, we have to look at Moulder's bases and growths. His bases are nothing out of the ordinary for a level 3 priest: low magic, decent skill and speed, and resistance. Very out of the ordinary for that class though is a pretty good base constitution of 9. His main point of struggle will, however, be luck in terms of both bases and growths. And I do want to point out that his growths overall are a little weird. Since Moulder is kind of built to be a healer and nothing much else, his magic growth of 40% is serviceable enough, but compared to the two other healers, those being La Rochelle and Natasha, he has the lowest magic growth out of the three. While these other healers are more built around potentially becoming strong combat unit if you want to invest down that route, Moulder shines more in his defensive stats and most of the time feels like you want to use him for staves more than you want to use him for combat. He also has weirdly high skill for that kind of unit, but it does make him on the other hand pretty good with light tomes that tend to have a higher crit base, so lots of critting can be expected in this run. But as I just said, he doesn't feel built for combat, as we saw with his base before the promo. And here you can see he's having a hard time in terms of power, and you'll see throughout the run that he will be having a hard time in terms of power and damaging. His speed is pretty high, which is nice given his 40% growth, which once again is serviceable but not amongst the best. So his growths kind of feel odd, especially for a solo run. So we'll see how he does. But I would like to say that in a regular FE run, he actually has the most value out of all the healers in my opinion. Given his high staff rank of C and good enough con, he tends to do more than other healers will do. Since it is kind of a lot of work to train them up, so having somebody who's kind of dedicated to staves and can just do that very well tends to be more valuable than healers who will maybe do more damage if you can invest in them when there are other great magic options. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about solo runs. And Moulder will feel odd for solo runs as high growths tend to be a lot more valued as you want to maximize the value you will get out of a single unit. All right, now that this is out of the way, why did I go Sage over Bishop? It was actually a really hard decision, and I can put up the stat caps and promo bonuses on the screen for you guys to see, but they ended up having a very small impact as the bonuses are quite similar and the caps will not matter too much since there are very few chances that we cap many of them, since we get 10 less levels to grow in this run than in normal runs. So the end decision came down to two things: the Slayer skill for the Bishop class or the Excalibur tome for the Sage class, which was really tough because the Arthur run kind of showed how strong Slayer is as a skill, especially considering the late purge on the Demon King that you can use to get free damage. There is also the fact that the Slayer skill will give the Bishop class the ability to have super effective damage against monster units at all times, and that super effectiveness is actually 3 times, while the Sacred Twin weapons like Excalibur only has a 2 times effectiveness against monsters. Oh, by the way, before we continue, you'll see me struggle a little bit on chapter 5 here, which I was extremely surprised by. You'll see that I can't take full advantage of the terrain like the wood tiles since I have to rush the bandit to save both the Draco shield and the secret book houses because I'll need both for Moulder. But I'll let all that run in the background as we still have some calculations to do for the promo options. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. So to know what's more valuable between Slayer and Excalibur, we'll actually need to take a few things into account. First off are Moulder's constitution and speed. Luckily enough, after his promotion to either class, Moulder has a con of 11, which is pretty good for most tomes. And considering we get a body ring later in chapter 15, that con will be effectively 13 for when all of this matters, which will be enough to handle the weight of most tomes. But for this, there are only 3 tomes we need to think about. As while you can see Moulder struggle early on right now, eventually he'll get Hellfire, which will help tremendously, especially on the raw damage front. But for now, the tomes we do need to talk about are, of course, Excalibur and Ivaldi, both Sacred Twin weapons, one of light and one of anima magic. And the other one is actually Aura, another light tome. So the 2 Sacred Twin weapons means that inherently they get 2x damage versus monster units, regardless of class. But why did I include Aura in here? Well, that's because in Sacred Stones, there's a weird coding thing where the 2x multiplier from Ivaldi overrides the 3x modifier from the Slayer's skill. So when using Ivaldi as a bishop, you're doing 2x damage instead of 3x, which means that Aura technically does a little bit more damage than Ivaldi against monsters. And since Moulder will seemingly have pretty subpar magic, every bit of damage that we can squeeze out of him, we will take. So when looking at the 3 tomes and accounting for super effective damage, we can see that Excalibur and Aura will both do effectively 36 damage. So they are kind of equal on that front. The advantage of Excalibur will be that you get +5 speed from yielding it, as Secret Twin weapons do have an inherent bonus to at least 1 stat, while Aura has a weight of 15, which essentially with 13 con will give Moulder -2 speed. since it's one of the very few tomes that Moulder can't fully handle. On the other hand, the highest crit tome will be Aura, and we know from the Ross and Dosler runs that some runs in the late game require crit to even be possible. And I have a quick feeling that Moulder might be one of those, but we know from experience that Excalibur's 10% base crit, granted Moulder gets enough skill, which he should since he has a really good skill growth, well, that should give him enough crit chance to potentially rely on that even in the late game. And what about Ivaldi in all of this? Well, Ivaldi has two things going for it. It is lighter than Aura, which means it doesn't slow Moulder down, and with Moulder's pretty average speed growth, might give him more opportunities to double the Demon King. But also it gives an inherent +5 defense, which is also really good against the Demon King to have more bulk. So Ivaldi's advantage is it's great in tandem with Aura as a bishop in the latter stages of the game. So with all that laid bare ahead of us, why did I go Sage over Bishop? Well, if you've watched the series before, you know that speed is king in the late game. And rare are the units that beat the Demon King without being able to double him. And when you look at Moulder's average speed as a level 10 priest and then a level 20 bishop or sage, even with the speed wing we get later on from Emilia, it's not quite enough to make him double the Demon King. So here I decided to go Sage because the speed was simply too valuable in the long run, and Aura plus Slayer had the same effective damage as Excalibur. So same damage, but more chances to double felt like a better play, especially for the Demon King, who can be quite a hassle for slower units that don't necessarily double. So that is why we went Sage over Bishop. So by this time, you've seen a lot of the early game in the background, and you've probably also seen that I have S rank Anima, and I will do my best to also A rank Light Magic, because having the versatility ready for the late game is always a good thing to do. But you've also probably seen that Moulder will have pretty abysmal damage overall, which will be a problem, and that problem will rear its ugly head on Chapter 8. First off, sometimes when trying to save Ephraim, we can't seem to one-tap the enemies blocking the way, making the little hallway a slog, and sometimes the Caval gets surrounded, so that is a tiny problem since we don't want Ephraim to die and cause us a game over. But generally, that part is pretty manageable since we have a good crit chance, making it somewhat possible to get the right luck to make this happen. But the main issue will be with the boss. See, Moulder will only do a single point of damage with the Fire Tome to Tirado. And this is because, and I swear I didn't know this before this run, Thrones in GBA Fire Emblem give +5 resistance. While this might be a very well-known piece of information to you, I'll be honest, I found out while recording this run. I've always assumed the +3 defense of Thrones applied to both defense and resistance, but apparently there is a hidden value of a +5 resistance. And I guess the reason I never really noticed that it gave +5 and not +3 is that I've never had such low magic damage on Tirado, or honestly any unit where I've needed to use a mage to kill them. I've never really had low enough magic where the calculation was necessary. But here it was so low that I was flabbergasted and I had to check. I was like, what the hell is going on? But I learned something new, so you know what? That's always good. You're never too old to learn something new. So during the fight, I will level up and I'll get 1 more magic, which is good because that means I'll be able to do 2 damage with 9% crit versus Tirado. So will this save us? So he will heal off the throne, and then he hits us with a javelin at 20% and then a great shield procs. So this here is a little bit of a problem on the Tirado fight. There is a chance that the great shield proc, as I say that, we get once again hit by a 20% damage. That's great. But the great shield makes this fight even more tough. And here I get a crit, which is nice. I get 2 crits in a row. Okay, he's down to 13 HP. Technically, if we can get another little bit of luck on our side with crits, we should be fine. He's 11 HP. We can tank 1 more of his hit, but at 20%, the chances that he does hit us are pretty low. He's back to 13 HP. We dodge 11, 9 HP. Okay, that's pretty, honestly, that's pretty good. We're going to attack him. Our tome is going to break on this round of battle, and we drop him to 5. Okay, logically speaking, we have a full fire tome left. We should be fine here. And he hits us with that 20%. Dodges one of our hits. So he's back to 7 HP. But honestly, this is in the bag. Great shield. And he hits us. Well, that sucked. That was luck. That was a round of Kratos luck right there. There's nothing else I could say about that. This was just pure bad luck, but we're gonna try again. This is not impossible. This is generally possible, but I do want to show you an attempt where I actually got him to 2 HP but simply ran out of tomes. We were at 1 HP and I had to switch to the remaining lightning tomes. That's how desperate I got, and I was actually pretty floored by how low our damage was here, and also very worried for later generally. But we do beat beat Tirado eventually after this horrendous couple of fights. Push on to later on since we do get 2 energy rings in our future, so I didn't want to panic right away. But, you know, it's something to keep in mind. Alright, so here is when Moulder's struggle will start slowing down. Thanks to his pretty good defense and resistance overall, he won't take that much damage, and also an abundance of stat boosters in the mid-game will help him. The Angelic Robe from last map, the Speed Wing from Amelia, the Goddess Icon from Tethys, the Chapter 11 Scale Book, Hewin's Energy Ring, all that stuff will be pretty good. And also the arrival of Thunder and Hellfire will make us kill units a little bit more decisively. And as some of these easy maps play in the background, let me inform you of something else that is very easy, and that is to click the subscribe button below. And yes, we're doing a mid-video shameless plug, okay? I assume if you made it this far, it's because you kind of enjoy the content, and according to YouTube, a lot of you watch these videos and aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you don't ever want to miss an upload of a solo run or any of my other very cool Fire Emblem content, or maybe future other JRPG challenge runs and other types of video of the kind, who knows what could pop up on this channel. You should click the subscribe button to not miss anything, and to make me happy in my heart, and to help me achieve my goal of 15,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Alright, shameless plug aside, let's skip to chapter 14 as Moulder will get a 2nd energy ring and hit level 20 to look at what we can expect going into the late game. So is this Moulder any good? Actually, quite yes. I know you're used to seeing green maxed out in these solo runs, so it might not seem like much, but considering he gets 10 less levels, it's actually pretty good. All the stat boosters aside, he is 2 points above in HP, 1 point above on magic and resistance, 3 points above on speed and defense. His luck is 2 points below, and his skill is 3 points behind. But overall, trading 3 skill and 2 luck for a blessed unit like this is quite worth it in my opinion. So he'll be doing pretty good hopefully, and I don't think we could ask for much more right now with Moulder, especially combined with Hellfire making his damage way better. We can be pretty happy in this moment with this Moulder. However, it is important here to note that Moulder's average speed with the Speed Wing would have been normally around 21, and that is one of the reasons I decided to go for Sage and Excalibur, since 21 doesn't double the Demon King, since you need 23 speed to be able to do that. So we got really blessed here with the speed with this Moulder, so it didn't really end up mattering, but I couldn't bank on a speed blessed Moulder, unfortunately. I guess we'll just dodge a little bit better against the Demon King. Let's move on to the back half of the game now. When it comes to chapter 15, nothing of note will happen differently, but that doesn't mean we won't stop by to say hi to our very good friend Null, who will immediately die for his sins of being featured on this map. Gosh, I wouldn't want to be you, sir. Bye-bye, Null. Bye-bye. Now that we've mourned his death properly, the only big struggle here will be finding the items in the sand, as Moulder has pretty horrible luck. Kind of like Null actually, but Moulder is Moulder the Boulder and he's pretty damn cool, okay? So that's the only thing they have in common. But the only important items we will need will be the boots and the body ring to up the con and the movement, since those are really nice stat to have in these solo runs. The other very important item we will get on this map, which we don't often talk about, is the Hoplin Guard. But I don't always talk about it simply because in most cases it's not that important, since most units tend to have pretty good luck and crit rates aren't insane in the late game of Sacred Stone, so they don't really take full advantage of it. But for a low luck growth character like Moulder, this item negates a lot of low percent crits that could be annoying in the late game, especially since there's a lot of annoyances usually in the late game, so you don't want to add more to your plate. So having it's better than nothing. So just wanted to bring that up. But other than that, this map is more of a long tedium than a challenge, and we will finish it off by killing Valter and hoping Pierce doesn't trigger on us to finish it off, and moving on to chapter 16. Chapter 16 won't be much more difficult than the previous one for Moulder, but it will be important nonetheless. I will rush down the left side Sage, since he does have a Purge Tome that I will want for the later stages of the game. It might not come in handy against the Demon King since I don't have Slayer to get the extra super effective damage, but it may be useful for other annoying enemies. The other item I will want will be this talisman to boost our resistance from the top chest on the right side. That will make the late game bosses of Sacred Stones a little easier to handle, since they all tend to have pretty high magic damage. But other than that, Orson will be our final target. We will reunite him with his wife and finish this map with no other problems. So we're entering the late game here, and something will start becoming apparent with chapter 17, especially with Leon number 1, who will take quite some time to kill. Even with light tomes who we should have a weapon triangle advantage with, they won't do that much damage to him. And that's because the resistance of units, specifically bosses, post chapter 16 will start being quite high. And while our Moulder did get really good growths this run, his magic stat of 20 is still technically on the lower side of things for solo running. So it's something we'll have to contend with, and it'll become even more apparent in chapter 18 as we won't even one round all the Gorgons, who have pretty good resistance. Will be like 1 or 2 damage short generally. And yes, that's because light magic does have a lower base power than anima, but it's also because I can't use anima since the Gorgon attacks are considered dark magic, meaning if I use the Hellfire tome we've been using as a crutch up to this point, Moulder will sure get hit by one of the higher hit rates. So we have to handicap ourselves a little bit here for the sake of survivability. Sometimes you'll see me bust out Excalibur to get a critical 1-hit KO, but I'll use that one sparingly because I'm pretty sure I'll need as many uses as possible for the final boss. But chapter 18 will take us quite a few tries to get through, but eventually with enough running around the traps and lucky dodges, the game will grant us a reprieve and we'll move on to chapter 19, which won't be too hard, but Moulder's generally low stat line will start showing once again. With all the promoted enemies running at us, we'll get hit a lot more often, and this will be very uncharacteristic of solo runs, but we'll have to try this map a few times. We'll even get hit by a rare FE8 Luna, which, wow, sure, okay. And Reeve will be a little bit longer to kill, even using Fimble, that tome. And I swear this time I'm not mispronouncing on purpose. I can't pronounce that word. I simply can't. It won't be a given. And if all else fail, I could have waited on the throne holding Mansoul in the end, but I really wanted the Aura Tome from Reeve since he drops it when you kill him, just to have options going into the final map, because having options is always a good thing in these runs. Which, on the topic of, we are right on this doorstep, but first chapter 20, and I'll cut right to the chase. Not hard at all, just a little long given all the enemies, and as usual, a breeze. Moulder will, we could say, roll right through it. You get the joke because it's Moulder the Boulder, Boulder's roll. The joke's less funny when I explain it, but moving on! We beat Morva, and we get to the final chapter. Alright, so here we are on the final map, and how is it going to go for Moulder? Well, first things first, we have to clear the stupid skeletons and grab our last stat booster, the Angelic Robe, which will make our max HP 58. It's not quite max, but very close to it. So the first challenge of any run on the final map is usually the Zombie Dragon, who Moulder will have a great matchup against. One rounds him, something not a lot of units can claim actually. And to top it off, 16% crit, which is pretty high. And we'll hit a 16% crit and manage to get through him unscathed. So this is a pretty good start to our final map. However, before we skip to the second challenge, which are the Gorgons, let me show you the Death Goyles. I don't usually show them, but here it's not a great time. Their hit rate is pretty high against Moulder, so it's not something we usually like to see, especially against like such low tier enemies, but it will force us to use an extra elixir, which we had saved from the Zombie Dragon, so that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We make it then to the Gorgons, who Moulder will handle okay. Their hit rate will be a little higher than I usually like for them. His main issue will be that he doesn't one round them no matter the tome I use, even Aura. So I kind of have to hope for dodges here. It's not, or crits. It's not a great situation. And once you'll see most of them are cleared, I have a decision to make before killing the last one. And I'm worried about the doggos on the left because Moulder doesn't again one round them since he doesn't double them either. So we are bound to take a lot of damage from them. Instead, I decide to use Excalibur to kill the Stone Gorgon below. My thought process here is that it will give me an opening on the right side of Leon to just attack him from there, away from the potential stones. And once the long-range Shadow Shot Gorgon is out of Shadow Shots, then it doesn't move, so it's not a big issue. But I do make a crucial mistake. I forget that because I turned to an Anima Tome, the Shadow Shot will have much better hit rate, and I get hit by it, thanks to the weapon triangle disadvantage that I have with Anima Magic versus Dark Magic. So, we die here, unfortunately, and get a game over. So a little bit of a mistake there, but I think, you know, what we just saw shows us a lot of what's gonna be happening going forward. We now know that the Zombie Dragon won't be much of a challenge, but we can see that a lot of the other enemies are gonna have mid 40 hit rates all across the board that will make dodging a little problematic. His matchup doesn't feel awful for this map, but I have a few worries and we haven't seen what Leo number 2 does yet. So it's something to keep in mind. And to further showcase this, the next attempt Moulder will be taken out by Gorgons once again after not being able to dodge 3 of their attacks in a row, which is a little concerning. But personally right now, I'll chuck this up to bad luck. Okay, so on this attempt, I'll skip ahead after we've cleared the last Gorgon, and we have to fight the doggos this time around. And as you can see, as I talked about earlier, they aren't easy to fight per se. High hit rate, their damage is pretty good, makes them a scary enemy to consistently engage, so finding a way around them might be crucial. But we do succeed, and it'll allow us to set up for our first real Leo number 2 attempt. Here I'll start with Purge, which does whopping 1 damage, but it's technically 5 free damage, so we'll take it. And with 5% crit, we never know, maybe we can do a little bit more. In this case, we will not be critting, so it'll force us to approach a 70 HP Leo. We'll approach using Aura and Excalibur, and as you can see, Excalibur does 7 damage, while Aura does only 3. Same exact crit rate of 15%, so that's nice, and both do double. But our dodge and tankiness is better with Aura. But the damage is much lower, especially accounting for crits. So here we could say that Aura has negative aura. Am I right, y'all? Don't leave the video. Please don't leave the video. Please don't leave the video. I'm sorry. I won't do the skibbity riz talk again. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to connect with the Zoomer audience. Okay, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. I promise. Don't leave. Stay. So that joke pretty much indicated it, but I'll keep using Excalibur and bank on Pure Water as our HP is at 36. His damage is at 39 right now, but with the Pure Water, we should fall right below that. So he can survive and hopefully do enough damage or crit to beat Leon. So here Leon will attack us with 32. He's not missing that. A 98% chance he hits us. We attack him back. No crits. Second attack, no crits. So that's a bad start. But here we'll just fully heal up using our final elixir. It will bring us out of healing items, but it's something we got to do. I'll still end up using Pure Water, even though they're not that useful. It's just I kind of want to check if I can survive a hit or not. And you can see here, even with max HP, I wouldn't even survive like a hit. I just need a lot more res to be able to do so. It's a little unfortunate, even with Aura. So despite having really good res, Moulder just doesn't have enough res. All right, he attacks us again. He's going to hit for sure. He's going to hit 98% chance. There's no way we dodge that. We attack 7% and still no crit. Okay, here we don't have any more healing items. He's at like 42 HP. I got to attack him on the player phase. So I go for Aura. I hit. Maybe I'll dodge the 82. Maybe there's like a slim chance. I don't. Yeah, that's a game over. In that final little bit there was not really anything I could have done other than hope for a bunch of 81% dodges and 3% crits. My best play was still Aura, because Excalibur, even with crits, was not going to be enough, and I wasn't never dodging a 98. My chances were a little bit better with the 81, but it didn't end up working out. So is Leon number 2 even possible? Well, technically on paper, yes, but you need a lot of crit luck and just general luck before that to not burn too many healing items generally. So what will happen exactly here? Well, to show you, I will use my favorite storytelling technique in these videos, and that is I will use a silly little video montage. Enjoy. Well, that was fun. You'll see that in the final attempt, I decided to change up the way I do things a little bit, deciding to go to the left side route instead of the right side one after I grabbed the angelic robe. And it's quite simple as to why the hit rates of the eyes are much lower when I use light magic, which minimizes my healing overall. So it's better to fight the eyes than to fight the death grills. Another thing I will do, since the doggos are a little scary, is minimize my fighting against them using Purge. Since it barely does anything to Leon anyways, I decided to spend a few of its uses on the dog. augs to at least weaken them so there are less rounds of combat against them. So I attack the first one, drop his HP by half, and luckily on the second one, I get a nice crit, which means I can walk up to the other one and kill him with L-Fire. And I can simply ignore their damage for this try. Great. Okay, as we move on to the Gorgon, I must talk about the Mulligan rule, which allows me a do-over on the healing item on one map per run. It's a rule I've barely used in these videos, and I set it up in the first ever run, that one being the Eirika run, and only recently used it in the Elliewood video, but other than that, it's never come into play. But I always keep it in my back pocket to make sure I can make fun, entertaining videos for you guys, so sometimes you kind of need an out. And here for Moulder, given the Herculean task that is killing Leo number 2, I will decide to use it because Moulder kind of needs an out. So on this final map, because in almost 2 hours of gameplay, I never made it once to the Demon King, I will be allowing Moulder a second healing item once he's through with his first one, because I don't really think the luck I need will fall in my lap here. With that being out of the way, we walk up to Leon with Aura and attack the last Gorgon, almost killing it. We do get a very lucky dodge on the 82% Leon attack, which is extremely lucky. I do get hit by the Gorgon, but luckily I can tank another hit thanks to Pure Water, meaning I can get some more damage in on Leon before healing. Granted, it's with the 3 damage aura, but maximizing every point of HP here is really good. And we get another 80% dodge of aura. What is going on here? Okay, I guess I'm getting some luck. So another round of Pure Water, and he finally hits us. We've dropped his HP significantly here, and now we can heal. But first, we must use the rest of our Perch Tome and get 1 crit from it, which is nice. Things are looking kind of good here. Time to switch to Excalibur for maximum damage. As you can see here, once again, Excalibur does provide us a consistent 14 damage, and now Leon is down to 23 HP. So very close to death, but because we didn't get any crit with Excalibur, I must use the extra healing item. And when we go back to fight Leon, I will get a crit on the final hit, which is a nice little poetic way to wrap this bow. But that means we finally get to the Demon King, and we do so with 2 elixirs. And this one is going to be tough. We do have a good hit rate and 15 damage with a very slim 4% crit chance, which would be really nice if we could hit that. Like, honestly, a couple of times would be great. Not just once, but like a few times. But the scary thing is the 68% chance to hit from him with 34 damage. And honestly, I thought Moulder had pretty good defense, but it turns out it's not quite good enough. So we can't really even tank a hit from it. But it's all right. Let's go for the attack. We hit him and dodge. Oh, okay, that's pretty good. And then we hit him again. So that's a great start. However, the RNG God giveth and the RNG God taketh away with one of the worst reinforcement spreads ever. 1 Evil Eye, 1 Gorgon, 1 Dragon. Great. And a few of them will go to fight Ephraim just to stress me out even more. So I'll go down there and save him as I try to kill the others. This is not going great, specifically considering he gets crit by a killer bow. I swear sometimes this game just hates me a little bit, but it's okay. We end up being able to save Ephraim. We kill the Gorgon, the Evil Eye, all that. Now it's time for me to go against the Demon King, as luckily enough, the dragon doesn't move unless you're in its range. So what's the play here? Well, considering we have 2 elixir, they will come in handy since we want to avoid being in the Draco zombies range, as Moulder can't survive an attack of the Demon King and the zombie dragon at the same time, but we can lure him away using the elixirs. So we have 9 uses of Excalibur left. It should be enough. Honestly, he will attack with that 68% chance to hit, and he hits us. Of course, no surprise there, but we are out of the range of the zombie dragon now, so we will go back and heal. Okay, now unfortunately we have to attack the Demon King, even if we can't take 2 hits. So we go for the attack right here. We hit the first one, 68% chance to hit. We dodge. That's amazing. We hit again. Still no dodge on the 4% though, which we would really like at least one of those, because that's like 45 damage if I crit, and you know, if I double him, I win. So like there is a pretty big chance we win here after the heal, because he did hit us on his attack phase, which we can't counter attack on because he's 3 range on us, which sucks. But here, if we could hit a crit and another attack, we win. So can we do it? Let's see. So we attack, we go for it, we hit, he misses. Oh no, he hits us, and we hit again, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to hit us here and we're going to lose. That's unfortunate, but it does happen, and we dodge. What the hell? What the hell? Okay, Moulder, just get a crit. You just get a crit and you finish this video. The video finishes if you just hit a crit right here. Just hit a crit, man. And he doesn't hit a crit, but can we get a 3rd dodge maybe? And no, of course, no, we can't. It was crazy luck. But using the extra healing item is kind of possible. Kind of. So overall, what do we do here? We probably just got the most lucky run overall that I could get. I couldn't really ask for better luck overall on all the stuff that happened in this past run. And we need to consider that Moulder needs 2 healing items here. We need crazy luck. We need all the cards to fall in our lap. And honestly, it's not going to happen again. We won't even make it back to the Demon King as Sage Moulder. It's going to be pretty rough going forward here. But there is still one thing we've yet to try. And that is the old tried and true strategy of resetting. And I know I have a stat blessed Moulder. I do. But I'm not resetting for better stats here. I'm resetting because I may have made a mistake. I'm resetting to change class. Because earlier, when I presented the ups and downs of Slayer versus Excalibur, I forgot to take one thing into account. And that is literally everything other than the Demon King. Because you see, the problem isn't the Demon King itself. We just saw that with like one thing of luck going your way here, it's kind of doable with Sage Moulder. The problem is everything before. We are spending so much time hoping for different little bits of RNG in the Lyon map that it is even blocking us to get to the Demon King. And I think having S rank light magic and Slayer against a lot of these monsters might make the map just a tiny bit easier. So I decided to go for the ultimate Hail Mary here and see if at least Slayer will do more than Excalibur, or if this format makes winning with healers impossible or not. Maybe the format I picked is just too tough for healers to be able to succeed. So I reset and I have to redo the opening sequence because I forgot to set up a backup save in case this happened. This is my fault. I'm dumb. Usually when I do resets, I kind of skip over everything, but I must take a moment here to show you guys that Bishop makes the early game that Moulder struggled with initially much easier. And it's because of something else I forgot to consider. For some reason, the Bishop class is one of those few classes in the game that receives a buff to its overall experience gain, which means that even as a promoted unit, Moulder gets pretty decent amounts of experience in the early game, making him reach higher levels earlier, which means getting more stats. So he's a little stronger for the maps he struggled with early on as a Sage, and that immensely speeds things up. So that's another point in the Bishop column that I did not initially consider. And Billy, I officially give you the right to write your comment that calls me dumb for not going Bishop in the first place. You have my full blessing. You're allowed to do it. And I don't know why I'm bothering giving you the right, because you probably already wrote that comment and posted it 10 minutes in the video before knowing what would happen at the end. But this way, I guess you kind of feel justified or something. I don't know. But for once, you were right. Okay, take the victory. Take the victory. You win. Okay, let's look at the new Moulder versus our old Moulder. Well, there is some ups and downs. First off, the magic is actually better on new Moulder, as this screenshot is taken before chapter 14. Hence, he only has the first energy ring and not the second yet. So his magic will be at 22 overall. So we got much luckier on that front. And we also got luckier on the skill and luck front, which will be great for our late crit rate. Given that we kind of already know that we need crit to succeed in the late game, so these stats being higher is fun to see. His speed will be lower, but 23 will have to do, and it's really good nonetheless. His HP and res are the exact same, and this new Moulder will be much less bulkier with way less defense, but it didn't really end up mattering for the last one, so it's not a huge loss really. The only thing I kind of don't like is that now I have Ivaldi to use, and I get the +5 defense from Ivaldi's passive, which with a high defense stat would have been even better for the Demon King, maybe even giving us the chance to tank 2 hits. But alas, this is not the hand we were dealt, so let's hope for the best here, because new Moulder does look good. To give you even a preview, chapter 18 was much easier for him, so I guess that bodes well for the final map. But let's get to it once again and see what is going on. Will Moulder the Boulder roll his way to victory? So first things first, the zombie dragon will be a very similar experience than the Sage had. Unfortunately, that archer had other ideas, but that is a good start nonetheless. We'll be able to one-tap the evil doggos thanks to Ivaldi, and the +5 defense it provides will make their attack a little less scary this time around, so that's nice. And then we move on to the Gorgons, who we take care of pretty easily. Thank you, Slayer. Their damage and hit rate is pretty similar, but at least we killed them right away. And we don't have to worry about doing it over 3 or 4 turns. So, you know, it's a little bit of a safer, more consistent fight. And here we'll keep the Purge this time around for the Demon King since we have Slayer, so it should damage the Demon King, logically speaking. And we'll face Leon with Aura and Ivaldi and kind of swap between both for what we need. Aura will do 5 damage, give us a rate of 23% and a dodge rate of 19%. What about Ivaldi? Well, I'll pick that up before even checking, but since Slayer does not affect Leon, it should do more damage and it will be 10, which is twice as much, but 10% less crits with a slightly better dodge rate. But I'd rather have the higher damage. It's a little bit more assured. And when you do get that lucky crit, it feels a little bit better. And we'll get lucky enough to crit on our first hit, dropping Leon's health quite significantly. So we'll stick to Ivaldi and enemy phase this man. And on our second enemy phase, we will not be as lucky enough to crit or dodge, meaning that we'll have to use our last healing item. But it allows us to fight the Demon King right away and see what the fight looks like after only a handful of attempts, unlike last time. So, on the Demon King, Ivaldi will actually still be better than Aura, despite the higher crit rate and higher damage of Aura, because Ivaldi double, making the total damage a little better. After this, we'll quickly dispatch of the reinforcements, but remember we have no healing item left. But we have 5 uses of Purge at 11 damage apiece, and a very low 2% crit that would be very nice to hit. Honestly, 2% crit here on 11 damage would be amazing. Unfortunately, we will not get lucky enough on that front, but we will drop the Demon King to 35 HP. And here I'm considering my options. Do I bank on a dodge with a lower hit rate of Ivaldi or the higher 12% crit rate of Aura? And I decided to bank on Ivaldi since I get to attack twice, albeit a low crit rate, but not impossible. And I'm thinking that maybe I can dodge and maybe get that 2% crit, hopefully. And it turns out that was a mistake and we die and we get a game over and we have to start over. But frankly, I am not too beat up about it because this went way better than last time and it feels way more possible than last time too. But it will take a few more tries even getting back to the Demon King as things can go wrong very easily. But we do eventually make it back. But once again, with 0 elixirs, can we do this? So we will walk up to the Demon King, Ivaldi, 16 damage, 2% crit, 90% chance to hit, 18 damage on Aura with higher crit. We will bank once again on Ivaldi, even though the crit seems very attractive. 32 damage is much more consistent than maybe hitting a crit. We will hit 77% chance to hit. He does hit us. And once again, we hit twice. Good start. And here the spread of reinforcements will be a little annoying with 2 eyes, but honestly, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Hopefully we'll be fine here when it comes to reinforcements. Okay, so once clearing out the centaurs and I haven't moved Ephraim out of the way, we will get attacked by this zombie who hits us for 28% chance to hit for 10 damage. It's not a good start, especially considering we have no more healing. Then both the evil eyes will try to go for us. We will dodge both, which as you can see, we are in kill range unless we use a pure water, so which we will do to not be in kill range of them, but we still need to move Ephraim out of the way because he is in danger generally. We'll get attacked by another zombie. The 28 doesn't hit this time, so that's good. And now the evil eye attacks, 25% chance to hit, and of course it hits. Of fucking course it hits. Second one doesn't hit, good, and then 41% chance on the Death Goyle. God, this is gonna get close. Last Death Goyle, 44, and okay, we dodge all of that. That's fun. Now we have a decision to make. There's 2 evil eyes in front of us. We could just rush the boss, but what I decide to do is wait out their shadow shot because they terrify me. And I still have Purge to use, so I just kind of have to hold out until I hopefully dodge all those 25% chance. And so far, so good, really. All right, so we will have survived both of them. Here we'll go for Purge on the Demon King with 77% chance to hit, 12 damage, and a whopping 2% crit. Honestly, here, a 12 damage crit would potentially win us the run. So I'm really crossing my fingers on it. And now we are on our 3rd attack, and we are 3 for 3 on no crits. There's 2 left. It would be really nice if the RNG god were nice enough to me. We hit attack. We drop him to 40 HP. That's pretty damn good. Can we get it? Just give it to me. RNG gods, you know what? Let's be nice to me. And I miss. Okay. Well, okay. Here we have a few decisions to make. And I am panicking in this moment. I do not know what to do. And what I decide to do is clearly a thing that was stupid. I allow the panic to take over. And instead of logically thinking and just going for the Demon King, attacking him, and banking on a crit or a dodge or something, I decide to put myself in danger range and take out the two evil eyes one after the other. Maybe I was vindicated by them attacking me or something, but for some reason I decided to just be like, hey, let me kill those two before attacking the Demon King. Now that I'm watching back the footage, the decision seems insane, but it's what I decided to go with. Luckily, I dodged both their attacks, which is a miracle. And here I go for the Demon King. I have two choices, really. Either I attack with Aura or Ivaldi. Ivaldi doesn't kill. Aura with a crit does kill and has a higher crit chance. And I get the crit that I wanted. Well, I didn't get it on the Purge. I didn't get it earlier, but I got it here, and we finally won with Moulder. And honestly, this whole fight was a headache. It just felt like crossing your fingers and hoping for luck the entire time. But Moulder did it. We can give him a big old wow, a big old round of applause. Congratulations, Moulder, for finishing the run. This was really banking on luck the entire time. And I'm even surprised it worked. But we did get a pretty blessed Moulder both times, so that's pretty lucky. But I will have to admit I should have gone Bishop the first time around, as Slayer remains quite honestly one of the best tools for solo running, especially considering how Purge work and the weapon triangle being in your advantage against Leon. It's just such a good tool. Bishop is just such a good class for these runs. And when it comes to turns and to time, well, Moulder has 585 turns, which is granted on the higher side of things, but considering that 195 of those turns were in the prologue, it's pretty impressive to see. His turn count would have been very close to that of Arthur, who also coincidentally was a bishop, and he had an overall time of 8 hours and 55 minutes, which again close to 9 hours, which makes sense considering the tough early game, but still much lower than I thought. It is also important to note that pre-reset, the run was closer to 10 hours before the final map. So familiarity with the run must have played a role in me cutting down on time like a lot. So I'm taking the time with a grain of salt here. But much better performance than I was expecting overall, especially considering the prologue grind that was put in place as a mechanism to visually show the handicap Moulder had to go through, given we had to cheat to make this run even happen in the first place. So if I had to rank him, I would probably put him around that Null tier, between Null and Joshua really. As the game was kind of tough with both class options, it does require a lot of luck, and there's just kind of a lot of finger crossing and hoping things just kind of go your way. But with that all being said, I won't quite rank him yet. I'll put him in the Demon King and Myr tier, which is the fun run tier. Those runs are technically not counted because I had to cheat or do some shenanigans to make them happen. But for Moulder, this might only be temporary, as I'm asking you in the comment section to decide whether the healers using this format should be ranked on the tier list or not. Since technically their runs are impossible and die on the prologue, so the run should be marked as did not finish. But for the sake of making fun videos, we'll use the method highlighted in this video for the other two healers. But for the ranking, I'm leaving the choice up to you in the comment section. So let me know if Moulder and the other healers should be ranked within the tier list proper, using the additional time and turn as a visual marker of the cheating that had to happen, or should they be in the same tier as Myr or in the Demon King. I leave that choice to you. All right, with all that being said, the video is coming to an end. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, and a huge shout out goes to all my Twitch subscribers and YouTube members who help the channel every month. You rock. Click the join button below if you wish to join them and support the channel. But I must give a special shout out to my tier 2 and 3 members here on YouTube. Those being Brawler456, Forgotten Fox, Hirame, Case, Iron Wolf, No, Stormy Gold CH, Stylish, A Grumpy Bear, Repload 0, Goat Nick 3, and Rogue Arcadia. Thank you all for the support, and hopefully I'll see every single one of you in the next video. But for now, bye-bye.